in high school, our babysitter lost her mother and very close with her. And we actually brought her into our family, and that was 18 years ago. So we now consider her part of the family as well. And she just had twins, so that adds to the joy of life. And I often tell her we got as much out of her, that would be Rachel, than she got out of us.
Project is you, a podcast based around the theme of time. Time to be able to press pause on life. Time to reevaluate what's important. Time to reminisce about where you've come from, what you've learned, and what you've accomplished. Time to revisit your goals, dreams, and vision. And time to remember the people in your life. That's it, my friends. If you've got time, fasten your seatbelt and listen in as we discuss opportunities for the next 5 to 25 years of your life. And remember, your next big project is you. Welcome, everybody. Your next big project is you. I've got a very special guest today. You know, when you have the opportunity to sit down with somebody that you've known for about 4 decades, it feels like that, at least. My gosh, we go way back, Joe, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Joe Kreuz is joining me today. Joe is the founding partner of AP Professionals. I'll let Joe tell you a little bit more about that journey and things, but I really know Joe in a much bigger capacity. You know, there's just many more roles. So when I think of Joe Kreuz, folks that are listening to this today, just a phenomenal, committed husband, an absolute great father, a grandfather, a friend to many. My gosh, a business confidant, a mentor. When I think of people, Joe, that I know, I remember the last time you joined me for lunch at my club back in beautiful Buffalo. And it was a litany of, hey, Joe, hi, Joe. Hey, Joe, nice to see you, Joe. Joe, what's going on? And, it was like, I said, my God, I went home and told my wife that night. I said, I had Joe Kreuz over for lunch today. There's more people there. I've been a member there for almost 20 years. There's more people there than know him than know me. Joe, welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you.
Hey buddy, tell us more about the journey to where you're at today, my friend. It's just a great success story.
Well, thank you. I got into this because I met my sweetheart in high school, Cindy, and obviously fell in love and got married in college. And always always admired what my father did. My father was a salesman for the Yellow Pages, and my older brother and my younger brother, two of them are engineers, and I just always wanted to take my dad's path. And it's funny, my mother gave it to me for Christmas. I had my father's Ellen Berry coffee cup that I drink out of that inspired my career. And I wasn't able to land a sales job until my second job out of college, where I worked for Paychecks. And what we did is just call on accountants and cold call people for referrals and business leads. And one thing led to another. I got extremely connected with the accounting community in town. And as I tell my own personal story, I got recruited by a recruiter to be a recruiter. And that was a Robert Half that specialized in finding accountants jobs. And
Wow.
I tell people when I went to Robert Half, it was the easiest no-brainer job switch of all time, because I was still dealing with the same people that I had been dealing with in my Paychecks days. And that journey at Paychex started in 1982. So here I sit, 44 years later, still dealing quite often with people that I met back in that day.
Wow. Joe, when I think about our stories, so we've got so much in common. You started talking about Cindy and, my wife, Ann, as well. It's just amazing wives, 4 kids, 3 girls and a boy, both of us. Grandkids, I should say, bringing joy to our lives. But I'm glad you put that coffee mug or whatever of your dad's up there, because I have just amazing memories of my dad as well. So tell me more about that, those things we have in common, but also more of some of the things that you actually learned about your dad and the things you admired about the way he lived his life. Those were some things that resonated when I sat down with you one-on-one.
I just always admired how people love my father. I have a blog about my dad. And by the way, we ended up with 5 kids. I do have 3 of my own, 3 beautiful girls and my son. And in high school, our babysitter lost her mother and very close with her. And we actually brought her into our family, and that was 18 years ago. So we now consider her part of the family as well. And she just had twins. So that adds to the joy of life. And I often tell her we got as much out of her, that would be Rachel, that than she got out of us. And
Wow,
but
fabulous.
back to my dad. I lost my spot there. We were
No, well, we were talking about the family, and I love that because it really summarizes how you've opened your home up, not just to your 3 kids, your son, but also Rachel right now. And now, as you said, she's had twins, and we were caught my interest there talking about Father Kreuz, so to speak, in terms of the things that you've admired. And you said right away that you admire really how much people admired your own dad, and where were some of the values that he stood for, some of the things that you've taken into your business or to your own family today.
Yeah, my dad was just an honest guy. My dad was just so natural at what he did. My brother Terry and I were out to dinner the other night. We were talking with my mother, who's 92, and we were talking about my dad. And I actually just added a few things in my blog post about 3 different people that were talking about my dad, how genuine he was. And John Stiglmaier, rest his soul, made a joke with my brother Terry that your dad came in and we were just talking, and I bought an ad, and I didn't even know I bought an ad. And that's just my dad. I mean, that's how he was. And it's part of what I think is what I enjoy so much. It's just people that I meet, being a recruiter, you have to be genuine. You really have to gain people's trust. And,
Yeah,
helping somebody with their career, there's a real art in sitting down with somebody and almost disarming them where they trust you. And then, I've always had a very curious mind. I mean, I love, sometimes I drive people nuts because I ask too many questions, but I will tell, and anybody that knows me know that my questions are genuine. They're not rhetorical. I'm just looking to satisfy more curiosity. It really
yeah.
helps me help people.
I love that about the trust with in just sales reps in general. What you picked up from your dad on that. I've been working on a concept, Joe, of finding someone that you like, finding someone that you trust, and finally someone that you value. And you and I are always talking about people that we know, and people that really are really good sales representatives. And it's a word that a lot of people today, they're almost like afraid to mention, like they're in the world of sales. I mean, your dad did it effortlessly, as you said, disarming, and as a point of like just people feeling so comfortable. What is it from what you've learned? You've been recruiting all these years, people, whether it's in the sales field or leadership field or whatever, but some of those things that stand out to you about some of the traits of some of those people trying to earn the trust and trying to get other people to do business with them in that disarming way. Are there some other things that stand out to you about great sales traits?
I mean, I just have friends that, we all have friends that sell cars and sell insurance and sell real estate. You and I sell services, and to me, it's not selling. I get such joy in helping somebody find a job, and I often laugh, like if the end result is I'm able to change somebody's life. And I often kid about, can you believe that I actually enjoy doing this? And there's times I think I feel better than the person who got the job or the client that was really in dire need. And I often joke, like, can you believe that I actually get paid to do this? Like, this is actually fun. And it's not fun all the times. I mean, there's much we go through when, dealing with somebody that lost a job, at times that's as traumatic as to some people, psychologists say is like a death in the family. And I mean, it's very, very compassionate meeting people like that feel like they're down and out, and they're not. I just wrote a great blog about rock stars. I've always said these candidates are rock stars, and I just tell people everybody's a rock star in their own world, and it's that message is same thing with somebody distraught. Like, you will get a job somewhere. You will be somebody's rock star. Just dust off what happened and let's pick up and move on.
Yeah. I love when we're together and I've seen you with other people, and you're always peeling the onion back when you talk to people. We mentioned this issue about curiosity, but it is genuine. A lot of people, they'll ask you that what I found, Joe, in my career, those one or two surface level questions, but they, this pen I'm holding in their back pocket might be the services they represent. And they just want to ask one or two quick questions to figure out when they can start selling you, and it feels manipulative. When people start coming across, it doesn't feel genuine. I've noticed just in conversations with you that people know you, it is genuine, and it turns into respect. It turns into likability. It turns into people want to say, "Hey, Joe, do you know this person?" Or "I was thinking of you when I met this person," and stuff. So, how is that element of curiosity? It's been a part of your life and your thoughts on that in terms of where it becomes more genuine, just from talking to people from your heart.
Yeah, I just love it. One of my favorite stories, my daughter Elise, one day, one of her friends came over and I was in the kitchen and she didn't know I was in there and I heard her tell her friend, "You're gonna meet my dad and just be patient. He's gonna ask you a lot of questions, but he's like a really cool guy when you get done." And part of that is that I just especially, meeting people I know. I mean, I like to go back. I like to know about your family and where you went to high school, and why you went to college, and if you went to college, because you don't really need to go to college anymore, depending on what you want to do. And all of that, all that curiosity really helps me. It helps our business, and being able to very genuinely talk to somebody about who somebody is, rather than just reading what's on a piece of paper, because there's so much more to a person that you just can't put on a piece of paper. And I
Yeah.
think that's one thing that I've really enjoyed, that whole face-to-face contact when I'm helping people.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it, Joe, you've got this thirst for knowledge, the curiosity that you have towards people. To me, I didn't even realize it till I stopped in your office a while back. And when you said, "I never really showed you some of the books I'm reading," I'm saying, I even had no clue in terms of your reading list, the library that you put together, the amount of books, podcasts, the things that drive you constantly, and it's led into you writing as well. So a lot of people are successful, but they lose their sense of intellectual curiosity of what other people are writing about with things that you're reading. And I believe you just naturally bring this in. So tell us how that appetite, I guess, that thirst for knowledge has been so much a part of your life, where you're always, "Hey, Leo, did you read this book?" Or "I'm reading this now," or "I just wrote something in my blog. You might like to read this." Tell me more about that part of your personality that I don't think a lot of people really know.
I was very fortunate when I started my business in 1993. My partner and I was just in a zone. I only had two kids at the time, and I was sitting my non-compete out, fortunately, because he helped me find the right path. And he went out and bought me a bunch of books that were very relevant to what was going on in my life at the time. And something in my brain just clicked, and it just turned me into a reader. And I in high school, I mean, me especially, I couldn't read. You couldn't read in my house. It was impossible. I'm one of six kids, and I couldn't get to Albrecht's quick enough to find the Monarch notes. But I just read a really great article that a friend of mine gave me in my Atlas Shrugged book club. That is one of my favorite books, and it was an article written about the erosion of deep literacy. And for anybody that would like it, glad to send an article. And something in that article really hit me about what happened in my brain and in my mind, and something just clicked, and I turned into a deep reader. And this was before I could read on a Kindle, and I thirsted for knowledge. I would sit with a book and a pen and a dictionary, and if I didn't know a word, and quite often there weren't many, my vocabulary was very limited. And I like to think that I've got a better than average vocabulary now, just because of the curiosity of what and how I've learned to read, and how I've learned to really immerse myself in a book. And yeah, I've got many friends that share the same thing with reading. It's really been fun being part of many book clubs with people.
Well, I believe you're the exception, my friend. Quite honestly, from just seeing the types of books and they're all over the place. They're not just in one field per se. There's different things. I know we're talking about what the death of a salesman to
Oh my
Atlas
God.
Shrugged to
I
business books to
Leo bought me Death of a Salesman for Christmas because we were talking about it. And I talked about Death of a Salesman at my father's eulogy 5 years ago, and I never really read the book other than I knew of the book. And I finally read it. It took me 2 days to read it, and it was really something. It really piqued my curiosity. And what's what's been really cool is that I've learned that artificial intelligence is my new best friend, and I love prompting AI now about. I was making these incredible comparisons about that book, Willie Loman, and how I thought my father's path was different, and all because of a book, and my mind just kind of drifted, and yeah, very very cool reading the book. You kind of immerse yourself into the characters that are in the book.
Joe. We learned so much from that generation of our dads. Common courtesy, just please, thank yous, opening up doors by my standards. With all the travels that we both do, I'm just seeing, you know, what I run into day in and day out these days. People just lost their sense of common courtesy. I like marvel at this, and I'll just watch some people. I flew to the West Coast here last week, and people talking, with their ear pods on, and it's like they're the only one in the room, and there's like 20 people around them listening to their conversation, or just the subtleties of that. Sending a personal note to somebody, writing a text, sending an email, thanking somebody. I was thinking of you today. What gives? Are we just so overwhelmed with society today in our lives that we've lost the sense of absolute common courtesy that we grew up on?
Not with everybody, but yeah, I think it's gotten too easy to just send cryptic text messages and emails that are meaningless. And just, it's funny, I keep a box of my favorite notes on my table where I'm just always easy to send a thank you note and a real stamp and a real, handwritten note, and just only takes 2 minutes. And same thing, I get great enjoyment out of sending somebody something. And yeah, I feel that's been lost on us. And not with everybody though, still see quite a bit of it. But yeah, at times things move too fast.
Yeah, I
And it
would
doesn't
say
take
is
a
a
lot
good
to spend two
takeaway.
minutes.
A good takeaway from this, Joe, today would be those of you listening. How many of you would have a thank you card in an envelope, literally desk side for you, where it's become more of a norm for you? Maybe you don't do it every day, but it's something when you're thinking of people. One of the exercises, Joe, in my newest work that you've been introduced to, is around who's on your top 100 list, right? Who's on your top 100 list? Who are the people in your life, family and friends and mentors and former employees, employers, or people like this that have made an impression or have advanced your career or the type of person that you are today, something that you've learned. And so I would urge those that are listening to think about who's on your top 100 list, who's somebody today as a result of listening to Joe, as a reminder of taking that thank you card out of your desk drawer that you can write a personal note to. It'll make a difference. There's no question in my mind. So
Yeah, I mean, I love sending holiday cards. Cindy and I send quite a few, and it's not a process, but it's just once a year. It's like a real connect with people that are near and dear to us that we really like. To just a little subtle reminder about. I hope you enjoy the holidays as
yeah,
much as.
yeah. In an era where it's getting a little bit not as personal, and my New Year's tradition these days is to look through all those cards and to sit down and ask my wife, say, hey, geez, I am, look at this group here. Look at the Kreuz family picture. My gosh, look at Joe's family, another grandkid, or the last wedding picture and things like this. It's so great to look back at some of those things like that.
I
Joe, a
love
lot of
watching my friends' families. It's just so fun. It just happened the other day. A friend of mine, I'm like, hey, just you know what? I didn't get your card this year. I was actually looking forward to seeing your family.
Yeah. Well, you've inputted or impacted, I should say, Joe, so many lives. I know I was challenging you, and not even a question I sent you to think about, but a lot of the people that you've hired, the impact, the real value impact of your hires in, placing people in the right positions. I mean, we're talking about millions, if not billions of dollars with some of the senior leaders, executives that you've been able to place, that I know as well, that have impacted share price, that have impacted communities in terms of philanthropic contributions as a result of getting the right executive into an organization that can do things. And I'm curious, something I wasn't going to ask you today, but the more I'm talking, because I know that someone in your case, it looks like, well, he's a recruiter. To my case, it's like when I see some of the things and some of the people that you've placed where you've changed lives, you've changed organizations, you've changed communities. What's your take on that when you think about that?
I just wrote a little article about it, and I cited 5 different people that I was able to go back and just look at how it was when they started and where they stand now. And yeah, the impact has been incredible. And one of them is somebody I cited who had an incredible impact at a nonprofit. And I become very good friends with her. And the impact wasn't dollars and cents the way it might be at someone who I placed at a bank where the book value of the bank's doubled, but the value of what this woman's done for the community is just incredible. And that's
Yeah.
that's Cindy Lee at OLV, and compared to Dave Nask at Evans Bank, and they've both added to this community. And at times it's not about dollars and cents, but yeah, we are in business to make money. That's what pay the bills. But there are other things that certainly are more meaningful in life as well. And that nonprofit world and people doing great things are certainly a big part of it.
Yeah, and it's well beyond that, Joe. Just building on that, it's well beyond just the treasure. It's well beyond just the money aspect. It sounds like the lady you're referring to as well from the organization. What we found in teaching a concept of abundance, it's your time, it's your talent, and your treasure. And what most people across the board tell me, it's like it's your time. That's the biggest one today. It's easy to cut a check, take some money out of your pocket, drop a $20 bill, or send $1,000 or 10 grand or whatever it is, depending on the type of charity event that you might be going to, or even higher in some circles. But your time, giving people your time to make a difference, really stands out. So, Joe, the last question, I'm dealing, and my heart today is beyond just the salesmanship and helping people to compete and become better masters of their crafts, or to learn how to differentiate themselves, how to know price and sell their value. But it's helping people to what you're doing as well, bringing that young lady into your life. It's now a fourth daughter, 2 more grandkids, so to speak, to your life. People that are making a difference, living a life with significance, which I believe you are, my friend. Living a life with no regrets. And I know you're working on, any of those things that if we got a rock in our backpack, we can try to take it off and stuff. Abundance, gratitude, perspective, being our best, living our legacy. What stands out to you as we end this podcast today about some of those principles that continue to make a difference, or thinking about the legacies of others that you've been able to recruit and put into right situations? What jumps off that list to you?
We talked about it at lunch that you and we're both still in our 60s. We both still love what we do. I'll never slow down. I love what I do. There was a great article I read in the Wall Street Journal about 5 years ago. I believe his name was Jerry Rhodes. He was this famous C-level recruiter in New York City, and he died. And he worked till the day he died, well into his 80s, and he just loved what he did. And I don't think if my mind stays active, I'm not ready to slow down. It's just too enjoyable, and it brings great pleasure to what I do every day. And my feet hit the floor, and it just away we go. And I think that you and I both have a lot of runway left. That's the one thing that you and I both have in common is there's a
Yeah.
lot left.
Well, the way I would end it is on a concept I'm writing about right now, that passion never sleeps. And if that title holds true, I know Joe Crews really never sleeps, because your passion. I know you get some rest from time. I know you close your eyes. I know you do sleep metaphorically. I don't want people listening to say, where is he going with this? But the bottom line is, when your feet do hit the floor and when you're up and running, that passion meter of helping people never goes to sleep. That's what I'm saying. It's a
Yep.
24/7 mentality of waking up in the middle of the morning and thinking about somebody that needs some help, to somebody that's searching for work for their family, to somebody trying to be placed correctly. And you're just sorting through. What I'm saying, to that degree, that never sleeps for you and guys like
Yep.
me that trying to help others.
Leo, just want to tell you thanks. It was my little tagline when I started the company: relationships that last a lifetime. And I always told people it was is right up there with like built Ford Tough or Burger King, have it your way. And I relish my friendships, and they just go deeper as time goes on, and that's never going away.
Yeah. Joe Cruz, thank you,
Thank
buddy.
you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for letting me tell my story.